All right, let's jump right in. We're going to start with what seems like a simple little brain teaser about a village barber. But trust me, this is no ordinary riddle. This is the start of a story that leads us to one of the most profound, most mind-bending discoveries in the entire history of mathematics.
So here it is. This is the question that kicks the whole thing off. You've got a barber in a village, and all we want to know is, does he shave himself? Now, to figure that out, we have to know the rule. The one, very specific rule he lives by.
And here's the rule. Seems perfectly clear, right? His clientele is very specific. If you're a man in the village and you don't shave yourself, the barber shaves you. If you do shave yourself, he leaves you alone. Simple enough. But what happens when we try to apply this rule to the barber himself? And this is where we fall into the logical trap. Let's walk through it together. Okay, option 1. Let's say he does shave himself. Well, the rule says he only shaves guys who don't shave themselves. So if he shaves himself, he's breaking his own rule. He can't do that. Okay, fine. So let's try option 2. He does not shave himself. But wait. The rule says he must shave any man who doesn't shave himself, which means he now has to shave himself. We're completely stuck. It's a perfect contradiction. So the crucial thing to realize here is that there's no clever way out. The problem isn't the barber. It's the rule itself. This little glitch in the system has a name. It's called self-reference. It's what happens anytime a rule, or a statement, or a system turns around and starts talking about itself. That, right there, is the engine that drives this entire puzzle. Now, this might just seem like a fun little word game, a harmless riddle. But right around the turn of the 20th century, this exact same problem showed up again. But this time, it appeared in a place where it absolutely could not be ignored. The very heart of mathematics. See, back then, mathematicians had this huge, grand ambition. They wanted to rebuild everything, all of mathematics, on a perfectly solid foundation of pure logic and something called set theory. The dream was to create a kind of fortress of absolute certainty where every rule was precise and every proof was unshakable. And this is where the whole thing came crashing back. The mathematician Bertrand Russell came up with a little thought experiment. On the left, you've got our barber's rule. Now look at the right. A set is really just a collection of things. Russell imagined a very special set, the set of all sets that do not contain themselves. Do you see it? It's the barber. It's the exact same logical structure, just dressed up in fancy math clothes. And this, of course, led to the question that threatened to bring the whole project down. Does Russell's special set contain itself? Well, if it does, its own rule says it can't. And if it doesn't, its own rule says it must. It's the barber's paradox all over again. But instead of being about beards, it was threatening the very foundation of all logic. Yeah, this was not a game anymore. This was a full-blown crisis. Russell's paradox proved that the simple, intuitive way they were trying to build math could create these absurd contradictions from the inside out. It was like finding a crack in the foundation of your skyscraper. This demon of self-reference, if it wasn't controlled, could break everything. And that brings us to our hero, the logician Kurt Gödel. Now, what's so amazing about Gödel is that he didn't try to run from self-reference. He didn't try to ban it. Instead, he leaned into it. He harnessed its weird, paradoxical power and used it to make one of the most stunning discoveries imaginable. To really get what Gödel did, you have to look at the oldest, most classic version of this whole problem, the liar's paradox. It's boiled down to this one simple sentence. This statement is false. Think about it. If it's true, then it must be false. But if it's false, then it must be true. It's that same self-referential loop. Gödel saw this ancient riddle and thought, what if I give it a little twist? This right here was Gödel's genius maneuver. Through some incredibly clever mathematical coding, he managed to construct a formal statement that essentially said this about itself. Now notice the crucial change. He didn't say, this statement is false. He said, this proposition is not provable. That tiny switch from falsehood to provability changes everything. Okay, let's break this down, because this is where the magic happens. First, just imagine a formal math system tries to prove this statement. Well, then it's proving something that literally says, I can't be proven. That's a flat-out contradiction. So if the system is going to be consistent and not contradict itself, it cannot prove the statement. But wait a minute. If the system can't prove it, then that means the statement, this proposition is not provable, is actually true. We found something that is true. but that the system itself is powerless to ever prove.
And that realization wasn't a failure. It was a profound, earth-shattering discovery about the very nature of truth and proof. Gödel had used the paradox not to break mathematics, but to reveal its deep, inherent, and totally inescapable limits. And this all led to his famous incompleteness theorems. Basically, two mind-blowing revelations. First, any logical system that's powerful enough for basic arithmetic will always be incomplete. There will always be true statements that are just out of reach. It can't prove them. Second, and this one is maybe even crazier, that same system can never prove its own consistency. It can't prove for sure that it's free of contradictions. It can't prove its own sanity.
So when you lay it all out, you can really see the evolution of this one single idea. It started as a philosophical puzzle for the ancient Greeks, became a fun little logic riddle about a barber, then it caused a massive crisis for the foundations of math, and was finally transformed by Gödel into a fundamental law about the limits of proof itself. So what's the ultimate lesson here? It's that self-reference isn't just some quirky bug or a mistake we need to stamp out. It's a fundamental feature of logic and language. It's a feature that acts like a window, showing us the deep, built-in limits of any system that gets powerful enough to start talking about itself. And that kind of leaves us with one final big thought to chew on. We've seen that the dream of a perfect, all-knowing system of mathematical proof is actually impossible. It has limits baked into its very structure. So the question is, if formal logic has these boundaries, what other systems that we rely on every day, in science, in our laws, maybe even in our own thinking, might have them too?